Well, considering I'm doing pretty good.
Are you? You up and about?
They,
Walking you?
would you believe I broke the hip on a Sunday afternoon working at the church? And by Wednesday, they had x-rayed, examined, and drew much blood to test. And by Wednesday, I had a new hip. Oh, it hurt. For the first week, it was miserable.
Really?
But, yeah, it's just the nature of the beast.
Dawn, did they do a replacement or did they just put in a pin?
What they did was replaced the ball and the pin that anchors that into the leg bone.
Yeah. Oh dear.
It sounds terrible, but I did get an X-ray picture of it. And I kind of cringe every time I look at that darn thing.
So now if you go through airports, they're going to ping you.
Yeah.
So you're up walking, right? And they're making you exercise and you're up and about. You are up.
I'm up and about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it still painful when you try to walk on it?
I'm sorry?
Is it still painful when you walk or stand?
For the last, I don't know, maybe since last Monday, the physical therapy that I've been getting seems to really help a lot.
Good.
And it aches. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It just
But
aches.
that's annoying because it's there constant, right?
Yeah. I get a very low dosage of pain medicine.
Do you?
And sometimes it's, well, they said, whenever I felt like I needed it to call, and I've had days where I've used 3 and 4 doses,
Yeah.
and days I haven't had a single dose.
Yeah.
I'm not about to get to be a pothead.
No, you're not. And they're not going to let you get addicted to it. They know
Yeah.
how much you should or should not be allowed to take. So do you feel up to some trivia this morning?
I'm sorry?
I said, are you up to playing some trivia this morning?
No.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm not good on the trivia, except for sometimes I get my foot stuck in my mouth. But Eric just came in, and I'm going to put myself on hold, and I'll be back.
Okay. Well, did you say your therapist just came in?
I'm sorry?
Did you say your therapist just came in?
My son.
Oh, okay. Well, you go visit with him and you can listen in, okay? All right, Don. We'll talk to you later. So Miriam and Larry aren't here? That was it? Was just Dawn? And Doris is not here? Well, it's, yeah. I mean, it's actually, is it 10:15 that you start teaching? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Wait, do you want to play trivia? Okay, here we go.
Yes.
We're waiting on you guys. See how nice we are. We waited. We knew you were going to come. You guys ready to play some trivia? By the
Yep.
way, we were just talking to Don and he's doing okay.
Oh, good.
He's going to be listening in because his son just came in to visit with him. So he said he would listen for a while. So, all right, are you
Okay.
ready for trivia?
Yep.
Let's play. See, I could be on Jeopardy, couldn't I? Okay. What was the occupation of Shibna? Shibna. What was the occupation of Shibna?
They made idols.
What?
They made idols.
No, this was a person.
Oh, I thought you meant a city.
No. This was a person. What was the occupation of Shibna? Shibna.
I don't know. So,
He was a scribe. He
Oh.
was a scribe, so he was one that wrote all that stuff. Okay. What was the first archaeological discovery to provide archaeological evidence for an Old Testament event? Oh, no. I didn't know this either. So it's called the Mesha or Moabite stone. Have you ever heard of that?
I heard of the stone.
The Moabite stone? Have you? No, I hadn't. So
I have.
that was okay. What did God do for Jonah that made him extremely happy? What did God do for Jonah that made him extremely happy?
Threw him a vine.
Yes, he did. He gave him shade. That would make you happy if you lived in the desert. That would definitely do it. To whom did Luke address both books he contributed to the New Testament? Who is he addressing in those books? I love this.
Israelites.
No.
No.
We're talking about the Apostle Luke. He wrote both
Yeah.
books and addressed it to this person. I'll give you a little hint. He was Greek.
Okay. He was green.
Greek. He was.
Oh, Greek.
His name was Theophilus.
Timothy.
No,
Oh,
his name was
Theophilus.
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 Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. It says, which book of the Bible immediately follows the book of Joel? Which book follows Joel?
Revelation?
No.
No, that's Jude.
I'm like you. I'm not really good at this either. No, I'm not good at where the books are or whatever. It was Amos. Amos.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm not any good at that either. Who said, silver and gold I have not, but such as I have, I give to thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk.
Peter.
This is who said that? Okay.
Peter.
It was Peter. Okay, one more here. It says, according to Proverbs, a fire without wood is like a quarrel without what? Oh, I hadn't heard that, but this makes perfect sense when you think about it. So it's like a fire without wood is like a quarrel without what? Is it what? No. Think what wood would keep a fire going. What keeps an argument going or gets it started sometimes?
Disagreement? I mean, I don't know.
Oh, sort of gossip.
Oh, gossip.
I have not
Oh,
heard that before. That's kind of a nice one though, isn't it? I like that.
yeah. Where is that? Where's
Oh,
that one, Sue?
it is in Proverbs 26:20.
Oh,
No. Oh, a fire without wood is like a quarrel without gossip. Huh, okay. We learned something new. Gosh. Okay. Why did Moses flee from the Pharaoh and go to Midian? Because he had killed an Egyptian. Who anointed Saul as king of Israel?
Samuel.
Mhm.
Samuel.
It was Samuel. What did the boy brought back to life by Elisha, do just before opening his eyes? What did the
He
boy?
breathed in. He breathed in.
Oh, no.
No?
No, it would be the opposite kind. He sneezed.
Coughed.
It said
Oh, he sneezed.
You know, we probably read it and don't think anything about it. You're right. Okay. Who was the first recorded rapist in the Bible? Rapist. Oh, what?
Ammon. Ammon?
No, he didn't rape her. His daughters did. That wasn't. No, this is actually.
Ammon?
So
David's son,
think
Ammon?
about Jacob. Yeah, so
Jacob.
that's not it. But think about when they were moving back into the promised land with his wives.
Oh, Diana.
Yeah, it is Shechem. Remember the boy Shechem for Dinah? The first recorded rape.
Dinah.
Shechem. How many times did Jesus say we are to forgive someone who sins against us?
70
times 7.
Yeah, 70 times 7.
What did the sign above Jesus on the cross call him?
King of the Jews.
Complete this saying of Jesus's. For the poor ye will always have, but you're on the right track. It says, for the poor you will always have, but me ye have not always. Okay, what was Saul doing when he first met Samuel? Do you remember what he was doing when he first met him?
Oh, he's looking for his
His
oxen.
donkeys. Yeah, he was out
Donkeys.
looking for his donkeys. Remember that. According to church tradition, why did a Greek governor have the apostle Andrew crucified? Well, I just don't think that's even in the Bible.
Well, that's not in the Bible.
It's not in the Bible. It says because he converted his wife to Christianity.
Oh,
That must be one of those apocryphal things. Into whose mud hole was Jeremiah cast? Really? I didn't know he was cast into a mud hole. I thought it was a well. It was Malachi. That's what it says.
somebody's phone is too close. It's echoing.
Is Jenny fixing it?
There it went.
Okay, you okay now?
Yeah,
How many generations were there from Adam to Noah?
14,
16.
16.
No.
No.
No, lower.
7,
No higher. 10.
10.
10 generations. Okay. What is the meaning of the word apocalypse?
End of time.
Well, similar, but it's actually, there's a book in the Bible named after it.
Revelation.
Yes,
Oh,
it means revelation. Apocalypse. Did not know that. Why did the soldiers who nailed Jesus to the cross disagree about? What did they disagree about?
who should get his clothes?
Who should get his clothes? Yeah. Okay, finish Psalms 19:1, which begins, the heavens declare the glory of God, and
Someone declares his handiwork.
that was very good. The firmament showeth his handiwork. Good for you, Larry. Okay, wait, you want me to do this last one here and then you'll be ready? Okay. According to Genesis, what physical imperfection did Jacob's first wife, Leah, have? She had weak eyes.
Weak eyes. Yeah, weak eyes.
What famous mountain mentioned in the Bible is located near the Turkish border?
Mount Ararat.
Ararat. Who made the first prophecy spoken by a human in the Bible? Who made the first prophecy spoken by a human in the Bible? Really? Okay.
I don't know.
You know, when we're talking about prophets, we don't normally think about this man as a prophet, but he absolutely was for 120 years. Does that tell you anything?
Noah?
Oh, it was.
Noah?
Yep, Noah. What was the first name of the man who asks the famous question, what is truth? What was the first name of the man who asked the famous question, what is truth? No.
Nicodemus?
It was Pilate, Pontius Pilate. His
Oh,
first name was Pontius. Pontius. Okay, how many cows in total appeared in the dream which Pharaoh asked Joseph to explain?
7.
7 or 14?
14.
Total of 14.
7 lean cows and 7 fat cows. Which book in the Bible identifies Peter as the disciple who cut off the ear of a high priest's servant? Ooh, okay.
Luke? Luke?
No.
John.
Who'd you say, Larry?
John.
John. It was John. You know, isn't that the only one that mentions that too? I mean, I don't think it's in the other stories. Okay, here's the last one. What immortal 3-word question did Pilate ask Jesus, perhaps not really expecting an answer? A 3-word question.
What
There you
is
go,
truth?
guys. There you goes.
That was the opposite of the other one.
That was the other one. What is truth? Okay. There is one more. Do you want me to do it? You want me to do this last one here?
Sure.
No, I don't want to hit it. It is 15 after. So if you want me to do this? Okay. Who wrote the following line? Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of women.
David.
No.
The Jonathan.
Oh, maybe Miriam. You were right. It was David. Yeah, that's probably right. Who gained control of Jerusalem in 737 AD? That's not in the Bible either. The Muslims.
No.
Which book in the Bible prophesied that Israel would be restored a second time, and it was fulfilled in 1948? Which book in the Bible prophesied that Israel would be restored a second time?
Isaiah.
Who?
Isaiah?
It wasn't Daniel, no.
Was it Isaiah?
Isaiah. It was
Hey, Larry got that.
Huh. Okay. Who tried to persuade King David not to take a census of the army? Who tried to
Joab.
not to take a census of the army? Remember, he wanted to go count the army, and he said, "Don't do it," but David did. So, who tried to
Nathan?
persuade him? His name was Joah, Joah.
Joab? Oh.
Been a priest, don't you think?
Oh. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Which book in the Bible immediately precedes Amos? Well, we knew what. There you go, guys. Complete the following. If any man will come after me, let him
Deny
there's
himself
two
and
more words
follow
in
me.
front of that. Deny himself and take up his cross and
Follow me.
last question. In the list of 10 commandments, which number of commandment is the following? Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
That's the second commandment, isn't it?
Actually, it says here it's the first.
Oh.
Okay. Well, there was certainly some new ones and different ones today, wasn't there?
And that's why it's called trivia. Good morning. Oh, I know, exactly. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that, well, whoever made that game. I believe it probably couldn't. Okay, go ahead. Can you hear Sue? Yes.
No.
Did you hear that?
No.
Her Jeopardy question. Did you hear Sue's question? She said she was
No.
watching Jeopardy. And one of the questions was, how many people were on the ark with Noah? And the contestant answered 300. How many? 800. 800.
8. Oh, 800.
They were 8 people.
Guess
but
they didn't know.
Yeah, Jeopardy, the Jeopardy person said 300. So
It was just, I just thought.
that was funny. Well, they probably do, but not the details. They know the 2 by 2 probably, and 40-day, 40-night and flood, but probably not why and the details about who, why it was even built. Good morning, Miriam, Don, Larry, and who else do we have out there?
I think Joellen's on here. I'm not sure.
Alan, okay. Well, happy Sabbath. I know, I could, there's Miriam, and then Larry's there.
Yeah, Larry's here.
Doris, okay, Doris, and Don and his son.
Oh,
Okay. Well, let's bow our heads and pray and get ready for our Sabbath school. Our dear kind Father, Lord, thank you for the Sabbath day that you've given us. Thank you for the rain, Lord. I know that there are reasons that you have this rain for us, and we appreciate the rain as well. Be with those members that are not here with us today. Watch over them and bring them back to us soon, Lord. Help my words during this lesson be your words, and that we can study, get good information and good things that we can apply to our daily life, Lord. I ask all these things in your precious name. Amen. Okay, so this week's lesson is a stranger in your gates. And, it's funny because going through Deuteronomy, it's kind of a reiteration of everything that had already happened with Moses and all the things that the Lord had withstood with his people of stiff neck. And so this lesson talks more about the condition of our hearts. So the memory verse on this one is, therefore, love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. It says, as we read last week, when asked to describe the first commandment of all, Mark 12:28, Jesus answered by giving them affirmation of God as one, and he said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. This is the first commandment. However, as Jesus continued talking to them about the second like it, something that the scribe hadn't asked about. Nevertheless, Jesus, knowing how important it was, he said, and the second like it is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. And the question is, no other commandment greater than these. Jesus linked love for God and love for one's neighbor into one commandment, and that commandment was the greatest of all. Again, Jesus wasn't coming up with something new, something that the Jews hadn't heard before. Instead, the call to love him supremely, the idea of loving one's neighbor and loving other people as a way to express our love for God, taken from the book of Deuteronomy. Now, it was interesting because it's funny, in all the years that I've heard that commandment, I always thought it was just in the new commandment, in the New Testament. The love yourself, love the greatest commandment of all. Yeah, the love your neighbor. It is, and loving as yourself. Yeah. It is. And because without that, you can't even follow the others. It's hard to follow the others. It's very hard. I mean, to follow them with the same spirit, for what they're meant. No, he didn't. Yeah. They do. So, but going to that one, I went and I found that verse, it was in Deuteronomy, I believe it was 5:6. I had wrote it down in my other lesson thing. And if somebody can look up Deuteronomy 5, I think it's 5:6. But in there, it talks about, it says this almost the same very verse. Let me get it real quick. And I was surprised to see how it was there, because like I said, I always thought it was in the last one, and I never really, it never really referenced it. Unless you look at those fine little notes, it will say it in there. So Deuteronomy, where'd it go? Deuteronomy. Oh, it's on next week's lesson. That's why I can't find it. Oh, come on. Why do things get stuck when you're trying to do something? Okay, so if we think about that today, about loving our neighbors as yourself, people right now, I've heard that same saying be used is, well, if you love people, you'll wear your mask to protect them. Or if you love your neighbor, you'll get the vaccine. Or if you do this or do that. People have a way of using that verse as, you want to say, kind of like emotional blackmail sometimes. If you love me, you'll do this. If you love me, you'll do that. It's used in relationships a lot of the time. Is that real love? Is that what God's meaning by loving ourselves, and as love your neighbor as you love yourself? I agree. Let's go to, I'm going to read that now. Deuteronomy 6, 6:5. Almost similar to what he's asking you to do, what's asking us to do now in the New Testament too, in Mark. So then it goes on, it's talking about, well, let's talk about loving ourselves. When he talks about loving ourselves, to love our neighbor as ourselves, how are we supposed to love ourselves? I mean, we can love ourselves. There are a lot of people that are lovers of themselves to the extreme that it makes them selfish as well. They're only me. And is that the kind of love that's not really the kind of love that he's speaking of. And I think that's a better way of saying that people would understand what God is talking about. Is love yourself, love your neighbors as yourself. Yes. Sir. Yes. Yes. And that's the same thing. Our body is our temple. We should care for it because it is God's body. But again, loving ourselves also means that we care what we do for it because it is God's temple. But also you take a certain pride in how you do things, your relationship with God. Okay, your relationship with God is a demonstration of love for yourself, because without that relationship with God, the meaning of love is kind of meaningless. Love, people have the wrong interpretation of love as well. I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We love ice cream. We love our car. We love our clothes, but I don't believe that's the meaning. That there's the agape, the word agape is the love. Exactly. Exactly. We don't. And that is a love from the Lord that he puts us in her. When he has that love, it really is. When you have that relationship with the Lord and you do have that connection, and people are at different walks in their life, not everybody has it at the same time. It's a growing experience to see people through God's eyes and love them that way. And it makes it easier to love those unlovely people sometimes, because you know how God loves you. And you think about that. It's like, you kind of put yourself in that situation. It's like you want to be loved just like anybody else. And in your times of trouble, or your times that you are not lovable sometimes because of your own, good morning, your own experience you're going through life, you get kind of prickly sometimes. People that are, I deal with this gentleman at work. He's in pain constantly. He works, but when he's in pain, because he starts getting very prickly, and he gets very grumpy, and he gets very snappy. And people that don't understand that get upset, and they think of him differently. They think, well, I'm just going to treat him the same way, without thinking this poor man is dealing with cancer. He's trying to work. He's still in pain. He can't take certain pain medications and work at the same time. And so he does get a little bit short. And so that, in that case, it makes it harder for people to love him, or to be, give him a little bit of grace because of what he is. Again, I don't think we should have to go tell people, oh, I'm doing this and this and this, So again, it's love people unconditionally is what it is. Yes, it is. Yes. And that's sometimes you are forced in those conditions where you are with people. I feel sorry for nurses sometimes that have to deal with people that are very, very cranky sometimes. That's kind of a hard thing. So we're talking about the strangers within your gate. What are the strangers within our gates? Aliens that are not Christians, that are not people of faith with the Lord. That's what they're talking about as far as aliens. They were the Egyptians in those days. In our days, it's people that do not have a relationship or knowledge of Christ. They are the aliens. So they're not talking about the people they're, coming across the country from. Those are aliens. Yes. Yes. No, we don't. Yes, and that's very true. We were all, in this respect, yes, we were all aliens at one point to this. And that goes for, there was many different in the very beginning when this nation was formed. Irish were not treated kindly, not at all. Italians were not treated kindly. Anybody that they felt that did not come over on the Mayflower was not treated kindly. And so, but we were all at that point one time. And it goes on, so it's talking about the neighbors in our gates. Those are, again, here what it's talking about is the people that aren't, have worship for the Lord. And so then it says, going back to, let's go to Sunday. And so on Sunday, it says, circumcise your heart. What is circumcise? Right now, circumcise is usually what we do with little boy babies after they're born. It's removing a part of their foreskin. And they do it now basically just for health reasons. It's not even done for ceremoniously anymore. The Jews still do it in some Jewish religions, but not, that's the bar mitzvah that they. Yeah, I don't know. What the purpose? Right.
It's the baptism. Corey,
Go ahead, Mary.
Corey, it's the baptism at 8 days old is when they did that. The bar mitzvah at 12.
Oh, okay. Bar mitzvah at 12, baptism. Okay. 8 days. You know, and it's funny
Because,
how, yes, sir, Don?
yeah, my son just left, so I'm back on the line. Where are we?
Okay, we're on circumcise of your heart, circumcise your hearts, and we're talking about what the Bible means as circumcision and what circumcision means today. But I was talking about the Bible. So anyway, what we're talking about today is not really the same circumcision that this is talking about, the circumcision of your heart. No.
I have always understood. I talked to Mom, and I've talked to doctors in the past. It was basically today a matter of health, cleanliness, but the issue in Scripture is that God not only chose the Israelite people to be his people, but to reinforce that dedication of a people. It seems to me that circumcision served the purpose of you can't hide behind anything. If you're born a Jew, you are circumcised, and if anybody is aware of your circumcision, they automatically know where your religious beliefs are.
But what it was meaning, yeah, back then, this is talking of the circumcision that is talking about is the circumcision of our heart, which we're not going to go make a physical cut into your heart. It's the circumcision. It was a sign of, it was a covenant. That's what that symbol was back then, was a covenant, a sign of covenant. The Jewish people were the Lord's people. Today, it's our circumcision of our heart is to make sure that we are not, well, what I read, a stiff-necked person and a stubborn person, our relationship.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like Sue says, circumcision, the hardness of our heart. Yes, sir. Yes, a spiritual covenant with God. Correct. Don, did you want to add to that?
Corey, I'm sorry. I can hear you clearly, but
we don't have.
I realize that you're talking to somebody on the line, and I get a complete blank. I'm totally left in the dark as to when they start talking and when they're finished. Okay. And I don't want to be butting in.
No, that's okay, Don. We don't have a microphone available today, but it was the gentleman was saying that it was more of a circumcision, a spiritual circumcision of our heart with the Lord. And yes. And then I said, go ahead. If you had something to add to it, go ahead, Don.
Well, I really don't have much to add to it. It's just back then it was a physical sign, as well as they can observe and see that they know about Jews being a one God worshiping people. But today it's become a health issue.
Exactly.
So what separates us from the general public? And that's where our dedication, our conversion, our emphasis in living, not just working, supporting a family, but the very act of living. People can see that there is a difference in our lives. And I can think of several individuals, that are so of other denominations, not ours, but we have them too, that they are so righteous about their faith that if you can't agree with their theology, with their beliefs and understandings and practices, you are beneath their dignity to even become friends with.
Okay.
And
Well,
that's not
go ahead. Finish
that's not
that.
Christian.
No, it's not. And
Go
that's
ahead.
what God's talking about as far as, and that's a very good example of loving God. That's not the example of God's love. That's not even an example of God's greatest commandment. So, and this is talking about though, that the Israelites, if you go back again, this is reiterating, Deuteronomy is reading everything that Moses went through with them. Oh my goodness, everything that they did through those years, how many times that God had to get them and Moses had to get them back on the right track. I mean, even so angry that he broke the first tablet of commandments the Lord gave him, making a golden calf. I mean, it's all these things, and yet they had that relationship with God right there in their presence at night through,
Yes.
and then during the day, a cloud. Yet they didn't, and they had circumcision. That was supposed to be the outward sign of their relationship with Christ. Now, like Don says, our outward sign is again to have that spiritual, like the gentleman says, have that spiritual connection in our heart, which is again that circumcision of our heart, to remove all that outward haughtiness, our stubbornness, that character of the Lord can shine through each of us, which people will see that, because they certainly wouldn't see if we were circumcised. And
Yes.
that's why our character, and they couldn't see it even then, but they were supposed to have, there were other signs that they were supposed to. But
Corey?
again, I mean, years and years of stuff. Yes, Miriam?
Oh, I just wanted to say, they had the cloud in the morning, and it was a fire at night, and it was a comfort and a shadow during the daytime. And they had that every day,
Yes.
day after day after day after day. And after a while, it probably became not so miraculous. It was there, and
Taken for granted.
taken for granted. And we do that too.
We do.
We
really
take-
do.
We
When our
take
lives are
God's
going
blessings for granted.
Yeah. Our lives are going great. We're happy. Things are going good. We forget to give God that honor. And to remember that every day that when we wake up, that breath that we have is that gift that he's given us for that day. And we
I
should
think
say
that's
that.
what happened to them.
I think so too. And I wonder if we have that today, we would probably still be the same way. It's like, okay, it's there. It's here today. It's there tomorrow. And
Well, the sun comes up every day, but we don't think about it.
yeah, well, again, in the my thing is that only because of a lot of different almost three, life challenges or health challenges that I know only by the glory of God and that I'm here. And so I do not take for granted that morning when I wake up, and I always say, thank you, Lord, for another day of life, and I really do mean that. And I try to remember that through the day. Sometimes though, there's people in your that get in your way that you kind of have to think. And sometimes I do have to stop and think and say, Lord, I do not know what's going on in their life. Take a breath, give me the grace to deal with the situation so that, because I deal with people daily due to warranty work. And sometimes I have to take that step back and say, to deal with it graciously. And if I feel myself getting frustrated with the person, sometimes I say, you know what, let me check into, and I'll give you a call in a few minutes. It's kind of like, okay, because people have a way to push your buttons sometimes when they want something that they want, and they're just going to keep going until they think they're going to get it. But again, and I think that the Israelites were the same way. I mean, they wanted something concrete, and they needed that calf. and
Corey, I'm looking at Tuesday's lesson. Love the stranger because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. it occurs to me that there had been a kind of a evangelistic fervor, reconversion going on when they were in Egypt.
Yep.
Not very strong, apparently, but when they came out of Egypt, it wasn't just Jews.
No, no.
They had welcomed Egyptians, perhaps even some who had authority over them. And so here they are, they were strangers called out to be God's people, and the people that had abused them are coming with them because they see a better God to worship. And they apparently had accepted those individuals. Okay, there were problems, yes, but the Jews were not ignorant totally of this concept of love the stranger. And especially once they had their homes, their fields and flocks in the promised land, there are a multitude of stories of both in and out of the Bible of how a person could come into a village, travel, or whatever, total stranger, obviously of a different nationality, and they would treat them with courtesy, with food if necessary, and a host of other things that kind of boggles my mind when I stop to think about the difficult details.
So, but
Where-
what about today? What does this verse do for us today? I mean, we've already said we were all strangers at one time. How would this verse work today for us as far as what it's meaning towards us? What strangers?
Well,
Sue?
now you're getting into the current issue, race, critical race theory, etc., and how true it is. But it's something that once we recognize it, once we understand what we have unwittingly gotten ourselves into, we can then concentrate on talking, of becoming friends with them, friends of all nationalities.
Okay.
And when we do that, that opens up the conversation to
Well, that's
God that we worship.
That's true, but in our daily, each of us daily, let's not talk about world, what's going on. What about in our own, if we look at ourselves in our each daily lives, how does this verse apply to each of us? I mean, what do we do, Miriam?
Was back to what Don was saying, when the Israelites came out of Egypt, they were so far from their original religion that they went into Egypt with, that they had to be circumcised. So they had basically forgotten their religion. And then they had more than a year at Mount Sinai to be taught, what to do.
It was a constant.
By and large, Larry, you're right. They had drifted wide and far from God, but they hadn't lost the concept. When Moses came back, he, Aaron, Miriam, and undoubtedly some others like Joshua and Caleb, the concept of a one God and you are my people started to take hold.
What he wanted
It
also
was,
to be that he wanted Israel to remember that all people were one, and they still even had a problem doing that even in the future when the Lord came back, when Christ came, they didn't even
yeah,
accept him. And this whole thing was he wanted them to understand they were all failure, they were all sinners, they were all and we all are, even today, we are all on that same level playing ground. We are all
we're all equal.
yeah, we are all equal. Yes.
On that,
Your neighbor, yes. The Samaritan is a very good example of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
feels good getting back into the lesson.
Okay. Well, anyway, so let's move on down to, it says, in contrast, it says the admonition to Israel about how they were to treat outcasts was not by any means the norm in ancient world, where outcasts could be treated in some cases no better than even animals. And that's true. In contrast, Israel is no different alike unto nations. And yes, the difference would be found in God, whom they worship, how they worshiped him, and the whole religious system of the truth that God had given them. Yet their kind treatment of the marginalized could have been a powerful witness to the world of the superiority of their God and of their faith, which is one sense was the whole point of their existence, to be in existence, to be a witness to the people around them, which they kind of weren't for a very long time.
Yeah,
Let's go to Wednesday. Judge righteously. And it says, as believers, we have been called to reflect the character of God. Paul wrote about my little children, for whom I labor in birth again until Christ is formed in you. After all, we had originally been made in the image of God, an image later defaced by sin. And as we saw, when Moses talked about the power and majesty of God, he also said that God didn't take a bribe and that he cared about weak and the outcast. And God does this, therefore, we need to do the same. It says, read the following
amen.
text in Deuteronomy. Who wants to read Deuteronomy 1:16?
I can do that, Corey.
Okay, thank you. And then Sue, you want to read Deuteronomy 16:19?
And I charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren, and judge righteously between every man and his brother, and the stranger that is with him.
Okay, and Sue, Deuteronomy 19? Okay. Yeah, and there's let me see, who wants to read Deuteronomy 24:17? And then we have one more, Deuteronomy 27:19. Deuteronomy 27:19, anybody?
I can read it, but I already read one.
That's okay, thank you. She read it, thank you, Miriam.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Bessie read it. It's okay, I know, it's really hard without the microphone. Now, what are those verses telling us? What do they all have in common?
Not to pervert the judgment of the stranger.
So it says it's talking about it actually, and in all these, it lists all the categories: the poor, the weak, the outcasts. All of them deserve the same treatment, the same justice. And I believe, and that's the thing, and it talks about here, it's all about proverbial and how the weak, the poor, the outcasts don't get the same kind of justice. In most human courts, as do those with money, power, and connections, it doesn't matter the country, the era, the culture, or how lofty the principles of justice and equity that are enshrined in the Constitution or laws or whatever, the reality remains the same. The poor, the weak, and the outcasts almost never get the justice that others do. It is. It really is. There's plenty of examples going on about that today. I mean, look at all those healthcare workers that worked tirelessly during the outbreak of COVID, tirelessly, overtime, mandatory overtime sometimes, without a break, and cared for everybody. Now they're considered criminals because they won't take a vaccine. Their jobs are being jeopardized. Their freedoms of choice are being removed. And yet these people were once thought to be these great people that were doing, and they're great service. So, and the same thing with the police officers. Police officers aren't even being given the due respect that are necessary to make our country still go forward. There's so many instances today that we can look at that the justice system is failing us right now. As far as morality goes, I'm talking about our relationships as Christians, how we go forward and treat other people. So that's what is so remarkable about the Lord himself was saying. This unfairness, which is everywhere else, should not exist in Israel among God's people, the ones who are to be represent him to the world. In a sense, to use a term from the modern era, the Lord wanted there to be equal justice under the law. And there definitely was not that during that time. And even going forward, there wasn't even when they got into the promised land, they still didn't get what it was all. And I mean, we still don't get it. So it says, but this goes deeper, even deeper than mere jurisprudence. You shall be holy, for I, the Lord, your God, am holy. And that's Leviticus 19:2. They knew who the true God was, and they had the correct forms of worship, and they brought the right kinds of offerings. That's all fine. But in the end, what good was it all if they were mistreating the weak and the poor among them? Again and again, in the prophets of the Lord rails against the oppressors of the poor and the needy in Israel. How can you be holy and mistreat others at the same time? You can't, regardless of how strictly you adhere to a proper religious rituals. And we do that too today as well. Sometimes we give preferential treatment to people, or sometimes we don't want to include. I mean, it happens so much with our children. If we don't teach our children too from the time that they're little, treat everybody.
Amen.
Always, and children automatically have no, they're taught. Yeah, children are, it's a taught thing. It's a learned thing to be prejudiced. I really believe that. And it really comes from the time, because, oh my goodness, my grandkids, they play with everybody. They and they don't even understand. Yes, exactly. And they start hearing these opinions and all this other stuff. And it's awful. And the thing is, there was a point that you would think that it was getting better, and all of a sudden it's just going haywire. So it's something as Christians that we really need to have the upper hand on it and really work on it with our hearts, that we do not show, we at least try to be a good example to our family, to our children. The slightest comment sometimes can be misconstrued by our children about a certain culture, class, person, race, even in jest sometimes. Kids don't always grasp that it's a jest. And it sinks in and they start saying things and thinking these things. But again, the Israelites had the same issue. The Jews had the same
Corey?
issue through the whole thing. Yes, Miriam.
Shouldn't even be said in jest.
It shouldn't. That's the whole thing. It shouldn't be said in jest.
Yeah.
Because children cannot distinguish that. They can't separate the jest from, well, why are you doing that? If it's not funny or if it's true, why are you making fun of it? Or why are you saying this? It's as humans and parents and everything else and adults and works, we need to guard what we say, guard our hearts, guide our thoughts. And because it's easy to say, oh, this people, oh, that people. And that's what they did too. They did it all through the time. They did it. But that's the whole thing. We are all sinners. And without the love of Christ in us, we will not be able to project that same love outwardly.
That's right.
And it's exactly. And that is where the circumcision of the heart comes in. We have to check our hearts, not for a heartbeat. We know that's there because we woke up this morning, but we have to check it for our attitudes. Yes, our attitudes towards the unlovely, the attitudes towards the ungodly. Yes, because we are those people as well, just because we're here. Exactly. No, we don't. So, and it says here, let's see, this says, I'm going to read it real quick. Oh, never mind. It's not going to work. Let's go to Thursday, pure religion. Did anybody else have anything to add to Wednesday? Okay, let's go on to pure religion before God. Pure religion before God. It says, read Deuteronomy 24:10 through 15. Does anybody want to read that? Okay, let's see here. Oh, it's okay.
You want me to read it, Corey?
Oh, Sue's reading it, but I'm sure you
Sorry.
can't hear it. Go ahead, Miriam, read it so everybody can hear it. That's probably better that way.
Oh, well, if Sue was reading it, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead, Miriam. Go ahead.
When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt not stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment, and bless thee, and it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not oppress a hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. At his day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and setteth his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee.
Okay. So what is this saying to us? What? I know it's. Is that trust? Maybe it's trust. Maybe it's about trust. Well, and there again, is that, looking at it that way, it's okay. So you go in and you make sure he gives it to you. And then it says, we'll give it back to him. Exactly. So what do you think about that? What would you do? Okay, you go to somebody's house. I need that. Maybe your lawnmower. You watch them get it and you take it home and you use it and then you think, oh, maybe he wasn't done using it. Maybe I should take it back, or ask at least, were you done using it? It seems kind of weird though, doesn't it? Because you went to regain your property. Yeah,
Well,
I think it's
that would,
go ahead, Don.
that would almost require that your relationship, well, that was a loan. So there's a relationship already there. Trust that the loan would be repaid. But what I see here is, in this next paragraph, again, we see the Lord's concern for basic human
Yeah.
dignity,
Yes, respect and
and then goes on to spell out, show a bit of respect and dignity. That really calls out not just a casual neighbor relationship. You know